Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. So I'm Christine, as Peter and Lou have just told you. I haven't been in ELT for very long. It's my third year now. So I'm very excited when I see new things and I learn about different areas that I can expand my knowledge of ELT. And one of the areas that I've really been working on for the last year has been technology. I started in a school that has IWBs, and so there was no choice, you know. You either dive in or you run away. So I dove in. Today I'm going to talk to you about my journey through technology, and in particular with this little fella here. Do we recognise him? Where's he from? He's from Twitter. So everybody knows Twitter, and a lot of people have different feelings about Twitter. We'll check your feelings in a minute. So I'd like to talk to you today about my journey through Twitter, tweeting and chatting on Twitter, things I've stolen from chats on Twitter, and then ELT Ireland's chat. You'll find all of the links to everything I talk about at this address. So if you want to take that down now, you won't have to freak out throughout the presentation that you'll miss something. That page also has links to our summaries for ELT chat, and it's a work in progress, as everything else is at the moment. So it will build over time. There'll be lots of stuff you can find there. Now, do you recognise this? It is the hashtag, yes. So, the hashtag. Some people love it, some people fear it, and some people hate it. I'd just like to do a sound check in the room to gauge your feelings on the hashtag. So, if you love it, could I get an If you fear it, a little bit of Hannibal Lecter. And if you hate it, a grrr. So if we could do that on a count of 3, all right? 1, 2, 3. Okay. I figured that. So, you know, that's exactly how I felt when I first started looking at Twitter. And then I heard about these things called hashtag chats. And it changed for me. Now, I did need a bit of bravery, but it changed. So my timeline started with Tweetaphobia, as a lot of you seem to have. And I joined under peer pressure in 2013. I tweeted. 2 days later, I tweeted again. And then I tried to connect with people and read information, and I couldn't find anything because there was too much. So I ran away. Then ELT Ireland started. And I agreed to become the tweeter for ELT Ireland. And I had no choice but to figure out how to work Twitter. So I did what every natural person does, and I Googled it. And I downloaded and printed lots and lots of pages on how to tweet and how to hashtag and all these types of things. And I learned about ELT chat. And this has been running for a couple of years now, and it's a group from England who started it. There's people from all over the world involved. And you basically go onto Twitter, find this hashtag page, and every week there's a certain topic that's talked about. And when you tweet to the page, you add the hashtag. And people see your tweet and they reply. So I joined the first one, had no idea what to do, forgot to hashtag, and then realised I needed to hashtag and said, I'm completely lost. And one of their moderators came back to me and said, what's up? How can we help? So I replied and I said, I don't know what to do and nobody's talking to me. I feel a little bit lonely. And so they said, it just depends on what people see. If they have a comment to make on your comment, they will reply. So that was fine. 1 or 2 people came back to me eventually, and I kind of thought, okay, I got through it. It was an hour. And then they published their summary. And I saw my name in their summary. So I thought, oh, I contributed to something. And I felt a bit more confident. I went again to the next Twitter chat. And because I'd been there before, people sort of recognised me and they'd seen my name. They responded a little bit more. I got more involved. And then I was hooked. So then we set up our ELT chinwag. I picked the name chinwag because the Irish love a good out chinwag. It's the same as the ELT chat. We had our first chat in February. And then I wrote the summary for the first chat in February. When you're on it, it feels like nothing's happening. There's no order and you don't know what's going on. And then you write a summary and you realise there are like 200 tweets and different people have said lots of different things. And you get 1,500 words out of 200 tweets and you learn so much. So that moved on to more chinwags, and there will be chinwags after this, and hopefully for a lot of you, Tweetaholism will happen. So what did I learn? I've had to pick kind of the main things due to time constraints, of course. One thing that I saw in the Twitter chats was someone suggested aromatherapy oils for warming up. Sounds strange, I know. So it depends obviously on your learners and how well you know them and how many students you have that like to come into class already scented. And so you put a little bit of oil on the heater, choose your scent based on how you want the mood to begin. Would you like them to be relaxed? Would you like them to be invigorated? 10 minutes or so before the class, and the students come in, oh, what's that? And they kind of talk about it, and it gets them going and thinking in English as the class begins. I thought it was lovely. Another idea was using playing cards. Now, I'm sure you've used playing cards before. The idea here for the warmer was that you can either group beforehand or give them out randomly when you go in. And people then go into groups of suits. And you can seat them based on their groups of suits. I also thought it would be nice if you used it as an opening warmer for a new class. You give them their groups for suits, they come together, turn the card around, and then say, for example, if they have a 5, they have to tell each other 5 things about themselves, or ask people 5 things about themselves. So it'd be a nice little warmer to start off the class. Something I like to do is a student anagram. It freaks them out completely, and then they get this great sense of achievement at the end of it. So I assign a letter each. I did one this week with gardening tool, because that was what the listening was going to be about. So each student had a letter, all randomly mixed up, and they're told you can't write. You have to figure out the phrase that you make, just working together. So they all stand up and they go, why can't we write? How are we going to do this? Somebody takes control. And what letter are you? I'm G. And you? G. 2 G's. Yeah, I'm N. I'm I. Oh, ING. Okay, ING. And so they put themselves together, and then you have students as a gardening tool. And then, of course, you elicit gardening tools and things like that and lead it into your lesson. Now, another thing that I learned about for warmers was weather forecast. When I read this, I had no idea what it meant at all. And I kind of just went with it because I couldn't find any extra information on it. It was initially brought forward by Jeremy Harmer, who I'm sure you've heard of, and another tweeter at the chat mentioned that he had talked about this. So basically what I did was, I wrote my week as a weather report, okay? So you can see it here. So first of all, my students talked about the vocabulary, and I allowed them to use their dictionaries just so that there was no kind of barrier because it was a warmer. And then we checked the vocabulary and the meaning of the vocabulary. So then I asked, how does it connect to the weather? And of course they came back with rain and turbulence and storms and the sun coming out. I said, okay. Now, it doesn't actually connect to the weather. What else could it connect to? So after about 10 seconds or so, a student said, feelings? I said, yeah, exactly. This is my week in feelings. Can you translate my week? So they worked together and they came back with a little bit of elicitation, with my week starting off quite turbulently, me having a cry, and then getting a little bit angry, feeling like I was scarred and I would never get over something, until I got over the anger. It all blew through and I got happy again. So it was fabulous. And it also allowed them to identify with me, because it did actually explain my week. And then they talked to each other about their own weeks. Some of them had drizzling weeks. Some of them had cloudy weeks. We discovered at the end of the activity that we'd all had a pretty bad week. So next week we're going to hopefully make it a little bit better. It created fabulous engagement. And they really got involved. So it was wonderful. Another thing I did was pictograms for listening scripts. So I teach IELTS, and a task 4 listening we did was on the history of the guitar. So I gave the students the script after it, and then got them to build pictures of the vocabulary describing the different guitars. This actually came from a colleague of mine, but through a Twitter chat. It was fabulous. This girl is 17. She wasn't interested in class at all. And then she came in the following week and went, look what I did. And ever since, she has just been so involved. It was really fabulous. They did a presentation then on one of the guitars the week after that to allow them to use the vocabulary. A further thing that I use is Edmodo. I don't know if you've ever heard of Edmodo. It's a site kind of like Facebook, but it's private. So a teacher sets it up, you create a class, and then your class joins after you give them a code. And you can set assignments for homework, like we have here, using the vocabulary from class. They come on and write a description of their city, in this case. Another activity I did was where they had to write sentences. And so, rather than correct directly, I responded to the sentences using the correct spelling or the correct vocabulary or punctuation, and then explained to them that that was what I did. So they didn't feel too much negativity in posting. They can also add links themselves and talk to each other through it. And I have students who've left who still want to use the site. So we have a nice little community going on. It's really great. You can learn about Edmodo on a teacher training video, and you'll see that on the link that I gave you as well. Finally, I want to tell you about the ELT Chinwag. So this is what it looks like. You put the hashtag in and you see this page. On Monday evening at 8 o'clock, we're going to be talking about CPD. So professional development based on kind of what's happened today. And all you need to do is come on. If you're lost, tweet that you're lost. I'll be there, Peter will be there. We'll check it out. We'll find your loss and your confusion, and we'll help you out and draw you through it. You'll see the summaries at the WordPress site, eltchinwag.wordpress.com. Again, this is a work in progress. I can't learn everything perfectly at the same time, and I do have to work. So, you know, if it changes a little bit, don't be too mad at me. I'll do my best to keep it looking pretty. And that's it, guys. I'd like to just leave you with a final thought. A colleague of mine kind of said that they joined the ELT Chinwag and it was a bit chaotic. And Sugata Mitra at IATEFL last week said, if you take a completely ordered state and a completely disordered state, there forms a boundary. In physics, it's called the edge of chaos. But at the edge of chaos, order appears out of disorder. So the ELT Chinwags are disordered. You feel freaked out, you feel like nothing is happening. And then you read a summary and everything comes together and you actually learn a lot. So I hope that you will come and give it a go on Monday. Thanks very much.